Shimano have just released their brand new group set, and I'm here with Ben to take us through its main features.
SLX as well as new Deore XT, and we've got some great features that we trickle down from our XTR group set, and we trickle them down into components and features for the XT level and the SLX level rider. One of the biggest news stories is Hyperglide Plus technology, and that's what we have in the cassette, and that controls how the chain moves down the cassette and up the cassette under load. Basically, there are a series of ramps all throughout that cassette on every sprocket that control how the chain moves up and down. When you're shifting, there's less of a shock to the chain as it moves from sprocket to sprocket. Essentially, your drivetrain becomes more efficient, so you can carry more speed through as if you're racing or riding really, really hard.
And does the new cassette require a new chain?
Yes, with a 12-speed drivetrain, we created a 12-speed chain, which we already had at XTR level, and now we introduce a 12-speed chain at XT level and SLX level. Those chains are the same weight, but there is a difference in the coating. The XT chain has a chromized coating, and the SLX chain has a Siltec coating, and there are differences in the durability of those chains.
And can you tell us about the rear derailleur with the new SLX group set?
So if we take a look, we can see, first of all, two larger 13-teeth pulley wheels. These are going to hold the chain in place more than the previous version. So together with the dynamic chain engagement technology on the chainring, that's going to result in better chain management. So in other words, quite a drivetrain and less chance of dropping a chain. We've also got some neat features like this bump stopper here. This again results in a quieter drivetrain essentially. We offer two specifications in this derailleur, one for a 1045 cassette, essentially a 2x12 cassette, and one for a 1051 cassette, which is the cassette we recommend for 1x riders. It's also got some neat features on it, like this small marking here, which identifies where the derailleur should be sitting in relation to that 51-tooth sprocket, which means it's really easy to set up this derailleur on your 12-speed drivetrain.
So can you tell us about the new crankset on the new SLX?
The crankset is a dedicated 1x12 crankset, and it's got dynamic chain engagement technology on the chain rings, and that controls how that chain is sitting on those chain rings, how the chain is retained on those chain rings as well. The SLX chainring has got a really sleek, high performance design. It looks super pro, and it's got three chainring options. 30-tooth, 32-tooth and 34-tooth. But what's important to know is that those chainrings are cross-compatible with XT and XTR chainrings. So if you wanted a larger 36 or 38-tooth chainring, if you're a cross-country rider, or if you're riding in really steep areas and want a 28-tooth chainring, you can put those on that SLX crankset. And what I think is really neat is the way this lock ring holds that cassette in place. The spider and the chainring can be removed and simply replaced with a new one. It's a super simple system. Using a dedicated tool to undo this lock ring here, you can simply slip on a new chainring. It's also got the Holotech 2 technology that many people love from Shimano. It's got the integrated axle into the crank arm, and the other crank arm simply slots on the other side with a twin bolt system to hold that crank arm in place.
Okay, so tell us about the brakes then on the new SLX and XT group sets.
So following on from the brake levers, we've got two types of brake calipers at XT and SLX level. We've got a 2-piston and a 4-piston version. The 4-piston version has a 22% increase in braking power over the 2-piston version.
That's for people who are riding harder, maybe more gravity riding?
Essentially, it's an enduro brake as opposed to the 2-piston cross-country brake. So if you're riding cross-country, the 2-piston version will be more than adequate for you. You still get a lot of stopping power, but the enduro version just gives you greater stopping power when you're going down some really, really steep descents. You still get great modulation feeling, though, of those brakes from what we call our servo wave technology. So that's where the braking power ramps up the more you squeeze on those levers.
You've mentioned a couple of times now there's a 1x and a 2x option. Why have Shimano stuck with a 2x option when the trend seems to be let's go 1x?
Well, although 1x is a trend that we recognize, and we make a lot of great components for 1x riders, we still recognize that 2x is popular with bike manufacturers as well. We want to just keep with both options really. We want to give riders, especially riders who live in really hilly areas, the option to have greater range and smaller gear steps between those gears. And then we want to give also a fantastic 1051 one-by option for riders who want simplicity and don't want to add a front derailleur to their bikes.
When are we likely to see electronic SLX group sets coming out?
Well, we fully believe in electronic group sets for mountain biking, and it's something that we're working on at XTR level. But what we want to do first is sort the 12-speed mechanical drivetrains, which we've now done at the premium level with XTR, XT and SLX. Following Shimano's design philosophy, we're likely to introduce that first at XTR level, and then we'll see how that technology trickles down.